dreamer. You might not see reality coming. Be careful. You get so up here thinking about things that you forget to process reality. And sometimes that can cause a lot of damage in the company. If you're a sovereign leader, you might become a narcissist. Yeah, you might have an ego issue, so watch out for that. Strategists, you don't listen to anybody. I got this. I know what the plan is. Don't mess with it. You don't listen to people. That can be really a big problem. You'll hear a lot of people to the right and left of you that you hired that are really smart saying, I wouldn't do that. I said, no, we're going to do it. Be careful. The warrior. I had a woman at this event that we did, and she was like, I am a warrior. I know I'm clearly a warrior. Unfortunately, we had to let her go this year because she actually was a bully. And that's the shadow of a warrior, that you actually, become a bully, and she lost the locker room. I mean, people loved her, and she's a great person, but she was so strongly a warrior, didn't watch out, and she just became a bully, and nobody wanted to work for her anymore. Okay, what's going to be the problem if you're a change agent? You just change for change's sake. Okay, we did this, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. That's not real good for a company. Companies like to know, people in your company want to know, where are we headed, what are we doing? And if you just keep changing just because you're bored or you wanted to try something interesting, you got to be very careful to understand that you also need to build something and commit to things in culture. And then, what could be wrong with a nurturer? You're the smotherer. Yeah, it's like the micromanager. Nurturers can turn into micromanagers. They don't want you to fail. I don't want anyone to fail, but we all know that we learn from our failures, so you have to let people fail in the company. You have to let them get back up and learn. So a nurturer can overcompensate and actually keep people in the company from growing and becoming their best selves. All these leadership styles, if you're going to be a great leader, you have to have all of them. All of them. And so really, what I would say to you today is the things that you feel that you're great at, be careful that you understand the shadows of that greatness, and the things that you're weakest at, lean into them, be conscious of them. I'm working so hard on Warrior and going into difficult situations and charging the hill and bringing people along, and it's very uncomfortable, but I'm getting better. When I'm looking for creatives, the traditional way is to look at people that went to a 2-year portfolio school. Well, guess what? You're going to end up with some interesting people, but you're missing tons of them. To go to a 2-year portfolio school, that normally, let's see, I think they're about $40,000 a year, and that doesn't include room and board. So you've already lost. I wouldn't, portfolio schools didn't exist when I became the bathroom break girl at BBDO and worked my way up. But if they had, I wouldn't have had this career. So think about untraditional ways that you're going to meet people. It requires you to be more invested. It takes more time, because it's easy to go to a friend and just go, hey, do you know anybody who might be good for this job? But the minute you're only going to a friend or only going to the expected places, you're immediately shutting down your ability to form a diverse company. Research shows that bringing 2 diverse people into your company doesn't work. When you start to look like this is when you start to really be a diverse company. Because when there's enough diversity amongst you, you feel like you can show up as yourself. So it's really, really important. It's not checking a box. It's really, truly about thinking about diversity. And I have to say, I work with a very diverse global team, super diverse. I've never been happier. I go to work every day so excited. If I have a problem, I want to hear what they would do, because they're all so different. They see a problem in different lights, and we make better decisions because of a diverse conversation. And I met her at an award show conference, and we started chatting. She was telling me about all of her projects that she was doing outside of advertising. She was making these incredible short films. And then after I left the conference, we stayed in touch, and I followed her in social and her tweets and the way that she would respond to things in social media. I call her the poet. And I was fascinated by her. And talk about an untraditional way of hiring someone. I hired her not for her breadth of work in advertising. I hired her for her films and her social tweets. And she was like, I don't want to do it. I was like, why? She goes, I'm scared. She said, I'm divorced. I have 2 little children. I don't think this job's too big. And I said, look, Swati, you care so much about women. The most important thing you can do is take this job. I said, even if you fall on your face, you'll have taken a job and made people realize that a woman can have a chief creative officer job in India. And she finally, I wrote her a long letter, and it was, I'm a writer for a living, so I worked her. And it was good. She said yes. But I also was like, she's not gonna fail, because I'm not gonna let her fail. And I have a worldwide creative partner, this French guy named Fred Lebrun. He's excellent. And so I sent him to India for 3 weeks because Swati had a beautiful idea, but I was worried because she had joined an agency that wasn't known for creativity. And I was worried that she would get bullied in that culture and not get to the great work I knew she was capable of. So I sent Fred out to play, partner with her and protect her a little bit. And they created a piece of work that the next year we like to award ourselves a lot in the advertising industry, and so we have this festival at Cannes in the summer, and we like to win the big prizes. And she won a big prize last year, and the year before, and she's winning all the time now. I chose to go with a company that I thought was amazing, with the BBDO. It was on all the front covers of the trades the summer I arrived in New York. And I decided instead of going for a position or a title, I should go for the company. And the only thing that I was equipped to do in 1985, graduating from the journalism school of University of North Carolina, was to give the receptionists their bathroom breaks. But it was actually turned out to be brilliant because I was never in one desk long enough for anyone to pigeonhole me into that job. I just kind of was around the company. And so I decided I would tell everybody I was an intern, because I didn't think the bathroom break all sounded really good. And so I told everybody I was an intern, and then I would make these appointments, because I had a lot of time in between the bathroom breaks, with all the heads of the departments. And I would do these informative interviews, and I would be like, I just want to come in and chat with you about what you do, what you do at the company. And then, of course, so after I did like 10 of these, informative interviews, because look, let's face it, we all love to talk about ourselves, so it was easy for all these leaders in the company to sit with me for 30 minutes and talk about what they did. But then all of a sudden what happened was all the leaders in the company knew me, so I would be walking down the halls and be like, hi Susan, hi Susan, hi Susan. People were like, who's the intern? And then I sort of figured out, I say that I turned BBDO into my higher education university. And I learned who was really good at their jobs, what was important at the company, and then I navigated my way into a secretarial desk that had a bunch of art directors but no writers, and I thought, well, if they don't have any writer partners, maybe I can finagle my way in. And sure enough, that's what happened. I started helping the art directors write, and suddenly I couldn't do my job anymore because I was having to cover print shoots and things like that. And I was lucky because I had a creative director that I was the secretary for, and I explained to her that I thought I wanted to be a copywriter at some point and be in the creative, and she said, great, you can just sit in on briefings, you can sit in on the work. And so that was wonderful. And then she left, and another woman came in. And I said, hey, I had this arrangement, I was on this path, and I just hope that I can continue. And she comes back the next day and she said, I talked to my boss and we really don't want to promote any secretaries because then all the secretaries will want to be promoted. Ooh. So I disliked her for 10 years. Until I realized she might be the reason I'm standing here. Because I got so mad, I went up to this guy that was actually in a better creative group, and he had done like one semester at UNC and then left because he had some issues that I won't go into. But we bonded over the UNC thing a little bit, and he said, hey kid, if I can ever do anything for you, let me know. And so I remember I was in the rain crossing Madison Avenue, and I was like, Charlie, you know when you said, could I ever do anything for you? You need to get me out of this job I'm in. And I know my book's not very good, it's really terrible, but as a junior writer, take a chance on me. Look at it, I'll work harder than anybody. And I went out to lunch that day and I came back and there was a little note on my desk that goes, you're hired, kid. So, I thought her mom was hurting me, but she actually gave me the big heave code, like that adrenaline rush to get out and get started. And then I just worked my way up, and by the time I left, I was on the board of directors and an executive creative director, and the guy who hired me, who kid you hired, gave me the keys to his corner office when he retired. So it was a good story. And then I got a call from Leo Burnett in Chicago, and they were like, we're looking for a chief creative officer, and would you consider it? And it was weird. I was like, what? I never thought about that. And I was like, you know what? I never thought about it, so I've never seen one. I heard about them. They were selling like Mary Wells in the 50s and 60s, but I'd never seen one. So I never thought about it. You know, we talk about you have to see it to be it. It's true. But I didn't want to go to Chicago, and Leo was in desperate need of a turnaround leader. I'm like, I've always been with this company, BBDO, that's never needed to turn around. They've always been dominant and awesome. I don't know if I want to go to the turnaround company. I don't know if that's even something I do. And then I got some calls from some women, and I think we touched on that earlier today, that they said, please take it. Please take it. And I was like, I looked at Joe and I said, do you want to move to Chicago? He's like, I don't know, if that's interesting. And so we packed up after 24, 25 years in New York City, and we went to Chicago, where I got off the plane with Joe, and I was supposed to start on a Monday, and it was Thursday. And a CEO of a company that I won't name his name, or the company, but he goes, I think I'm going to fire your agency next week. I was like, Joe, you know, we could just get back on the plane and go home. It's not starting off well. But I went to Leo Burnett, and for 6 years was the chief creative officer there. I'm happy to report that since I took the CCO job, many agencies have put women into CCO positions, and they're all friends of mine. They weren't necessarily my friends, but we're very tight, and we hang and, you know, support each other. And then I got a call from Carter Murray, who was starting to turn around FCB, which was a hot mess. And he goes, I want to work with you. Will you come back to New York and be the global chief creative officer? And I'm like, oh Lord, how many global chief creative officers are there in the world right now that are women? And so I was like, yeah, I read this. I've done this before. Yeah, I'll do it. Because at this point, everything's gravy for me. I checked all the boxes of what I wanted to accomplish, and so I can afford to be more generous with my decisions. So I'm happy to report that there are more global CCOs that are women today than there were 5 years ago.
The 2019 Women in the Workplace study came out a few weeks ago with McKinsey & Company, talking about that first rung being broken for young women starting out in their careers. You kind of alluded to how you overcame that broken rung, but do you have any suggestions for managers who are trying to mentor women, both men and women, trying to mentor young women, how to get past that first rung?
Yeah, I think it's our job as leaders to go out of our way to see people. And I'm amazed at how many times I watch. I mean, it's amazing in my company. I watch people walk down the halls and they don't make eye contact with each other. And it blows me away. I'm like, this is I'll be in an elevator with somebody and, you know, I'm the leader of their company and they don't talk. They're either on their headphones or they're doing, you know, I don't know what. Take your headphones out of your head. Look at people, you know. Young people should make an effort. I'm amazed at how few people come up to me and say, could I have a coffee with you, or could I visit with you? I was in Chicago, and I just had to introduce a really cool act, so I had a very easy job that day, but it was awesome because I got to be on stage and talk about this incredible music performance we were going to put on, but at least so people could see me. And afterwards, a young woman runs over and she goes, oh, I just want to say hi, I work at your Chicago office, and guys, so nice to meet you. And I was like, that's great. Well, I just got a text from her, and she said, hi, I met you. I was a little bit of a crazy, you know, person, but I really, really just want to chat with you. Could you have coffee with me next time you're in Chicago? And I will. But now I see her. So I think I would tell the young people to be seen, but I would also say as leaders, see people. Make an effort to go up and just say, how are you? What do you do here? You should care about these people. You're paying them. So maybe. Yeah.
Hi, Susan. Go Tar Heels.
Yay!
You and I actually met 8 years ago when I was first starting my career.
Okay.
I am...
He's always makes me nervous. Hey.
Thank you. I am the only female, then and now, in the leadership team in my company of 80 employees. It's a construction company.
Right.
So there's like 9 women total. I frequently find myself to not only be the token female, but also the female who is now a little loud, because I am respectfully but firmly calling the men out on the language that they choose to use to describe us.
Yes.
I don't allow the word girls. I don't appreciate when we're told we can't or wouldn't want to do something, like hunting or baseball. Some of the men are totally fine with me doing that, and they know, like, Janet's calling us out and we have to listen. Some of the other ones do not appreciate it and hold it as a personal grudge. How do you handle that toxicity when those are the people that you are with day in and day out?
Yeah. That's tough questions. First of all, I found humor helps a lot. So I tend to correct people with levity, and some empathy. It's really interesting. We had an issue over in our London office where we work with the government on controlling or educating people about the dangers of knives and being knifed and knifing. It's a big problem in London. And we did some work, and there was a guy who owned a chicken shop chain, and he said, "Can I take the ads and put them on the chicken boxes that I sell at my company?" And it was all the intent, was lovely. But what happened is it got called out as a discriminatory act, racially motivated. None of this was what the chicken shop owner meant to do, but the context and had a very different impact. And we had a woman who's a global strategist, and she was over in London because we're working on ways that we can be better about not putting damaging work out into the world, which means that you have to understand more than your own culture. And the white CCO was like, "I don't really understand why this is such a big deal." And a black man in our company said it was a very big deal to him. And Owen, the white man, is a very lovely human being. He was like, "What?" And he goes, "It really hurt me when I saw it, and when I saw that our company had been a part of this, I had a very difficult time explaining to my friends how this could have happened." Well, Owen had no idea. And he didn't think it was a big deal. And I think that, I said humor and levity, but I think also honesty, it really hurts. Well, years ago, there was a film made by women, for women, where they got all the top males in our industry that are more creative leaders to dress up in drag and act like women. And I was in a room like this, and they played it, and I almost stood up and said, "You need to stop the film right now." I was so hurt and so angry, and they were asking where are the women in advertising. And I had been 15 years, I had put 15 years into advertising. I was an ECD. And the final line was, as long as we act like women, we're never going to move up into the world. And they changed their name. It was Advertising Women of New York. Now it's She Left. But they said, "Yeah, your letter is still in our company," because I wrote it and it said, "As long as women make work like this, we don't deserve to be looked at." But but my partner at the time was a man, and he thought it was hilarious. And I said, "Let me explain to you why this is so offensive. I don't want to be like you." And I would continue to say that the things that you're asking the men at your company to do, the ones that listen will be more enlightened, and they'll be better for it. Ethics are really important to me. I don't mind. You can be anything. Your choices in life, and the more diverse, the better. But being ethical or trying to be as ethical as possible and doing the right thing as a human being is probably the most important thing for me. I don't, you can be the most talented person, but if you're not hardwired to do good or try to do good, it can become pretty uninteresting.
I'm also a driver. You talked about increasing diversity in the workforce, and there's, it's not just adding one drop of, diversity. However, how do you cultivate a culture that fosters inclusivity and does it perpetuate assimilation?
Well, I think the first thing is I think diversity in culture is like a garden. The work is never done. You have to constantly, I thought I had such a great diverse team 3 years ago, and in one fell swoop, three of my female CCOs moved on and were replaced by men, and incredible men. But all of a sudden now I'm looking at what I manage, and it's off. So I think as leaders, you can't set it and forget it. It's constant work all the time, and we still, our company has so much to do, and it's something that we're talking about all the time. I think the assimilation part is that you want people to feel comfortable with being able to say what, I hate this sounds cliche, but what their truth is. And again, as a leader, it's my job, and sometimes it's to take someone outside, if we're in a group, take them outside of the space and ask them what they really think. Put them in a safe place where they can share who they are. I remember when Trayvon Martin, when all of that went down, and as a sheltered white woman, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what the response for a company, and I wrote my business partner, the English, French, German guy, and I said, Carter, I think we have to say something, but I don't know what to say, and I see landmines, all around. And he's like, well, let's talk about it when I get back into the office. And so I got back into the office before he did, and there's a black woman on my team, Vita Harris, who's the one that's helping with all the being careful about not making damaging work unintentionally. And Vita and I weren't friends at the time. I had just started. And I saw Vita, and I burst into tears. And she's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know what to say to you. And I think I'm supposed to say something, and I don't know how to say it. So she pulls me into my office, and she's like, it's going to be okay. I'm like, no, I'm supposed to be telling you it's going to be okay. And from that day on, we've been best friends. But it's looking for those human, real moments, and can you get to that place where you're like, I see you as this person first, and I'm very interested in you as a person. Versus I see you as an employee and you have a job that you do. And I think that's, when you just see the employee and the job, I think that's you're more likely to fall into an assimilating culture. If you see the person and ask and be interested, I think you start to really build a diverse culture.
I loved your lesson about the different styles of leadership and leaning into the styles that you don't feel as comfortable with. And I'm curious, first of all, what you've learned through that process, and then what strategies you've used to get comfortable with the discomfort of leaning into those areas where you don't feel as strong.
Yeah. Okay. So when I think about it, I'm a pretty good nurturer without being a smotherer, because I like my independence and I like people to do their job. I'm not a very good micromanager at all. I've learned to be very good with turnarounds. I actually like turnaround leadership a lot, mainly because the fear of failure kind of goes away, because you're already failing. So it's a win-win for me. I'm a pretty good strategist. I like a plan. I like to build on things. Weirdly enough, I don't think I'm as good of a dreamer as I should be. I think I don't settle myself long enough. I'm interrupted all the time, and I think dreamers need space, and I don't find space for myself. So dreamer's one I'm working on, and like I said, the warrior. And the warrior's things, it's as small as reaching out to an aggressive person and meeting them face-to-face, toe-to-toe. And normally I would get somebody to do that for me, and I'm trying to do it myself now. And actually the weird thing is when I do it, I'm like, oh, the person actually backed down, and now we're having an interesting conversation. So every time you push yourself into that uncomfortable place, I think most of the time you realize it's not as uncomfortable as you thought it was going to be, which makes you braver to do it more often.